Welcome to a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda.
Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, welcome to this Halloween edition of the Board of Commissioners meeting, October 31st, 2012. We have Commissioner Lori Kukowski with the little cute dog.
Actually, this dog is dressed up. It's a Rottweiler dressed up as a Chihuahua. How's that, Joyce? Really cute female. Say maybe Chihuahua with Yorkshire Terrier, but I don't know. Just a very cute, well-mannered little dog that would just probably sit on in your lap and keep you warm during the wintertime. Make a great addition to your family. If I don't get there first, I might have to go down there and get her. She's real sweet, my kind of dog. So she will be available on Saturday after 3 o'clock, and please come down and get her. How many do we have? 36 dogs, so we need your help. Let the Lorain County Dog Kennel be the first place you go when you're looking for a dog.
And Madam Clerk, why don't you go ahead and stand up so everyone can see your outfit. So she.
Do-wop.
Sean on and off.
Bowser. Wasn't Bowser somewhere recently? He's at Sherrod Brown's event on Sunday.
Oh, okay. And Bowser, is he Epstein from?
No.
No, Bowser's like 6'6".
Right.
What did he play on?
He played himself on Shanana.
Right.
Okay.
I have no idea what you're talking
Before
about.
you, Lori.
Oh,
Before your time.
Before my
I
time?
have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, you had a birthday yesterday, so you get pretty old yourself.
I'm not near as old as this board.
We're older and wiser. Okay, Madam Clerk?
At 9:45, we'll have a budget hearing from Treasurer Dan Talerick. At 10 o'clock will be Common Police Court, Judge Burge and Tim Luby. Under Resolutions Number 1, Job and Family Services Bills.
So moved?
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
No investments. Appropriations.
So moved?
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Transfers.
So moved?
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
No advances, no repayments, requisitions.
So moved?
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, there was one requisition for domestic relations had like a $494 charge on there for allied waste, and I was under the assumption that county buildings or county offices did not have to pay for allied. Is domestic relations exempt from that?
I'll have to take a look. I'm not sure what, all buildings or part of the buildings were opted into that agreement. I have to look at the
I
agreement.
thought all county buildings did not have to, were exempted from having to pay allied.
I can't really respond to that. I don't know if it's all of them. I know there's a number of the big buildings that were, but I don't know about all.
Can we just hold this one, number, is this the number right here?
Yeah.
Number 1324-12, just hold that one?
On the back.
No.
Deb Tansy's here. I don't know if she has explanation.
Deb, do you know anything about it?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, the pods or the detention home. But
You have always paid? Well, no, actually Allied's not supposed to be charging, I thought, any of the county facilities.
I just don't know what buildings are in that agreement. If you want to hold it, clerk can send it down to me. I'll take a look at the agreement.
I'd be
We always
happy to
have
save
paid
you
it, but it would be
almost
wonderful if
$500.
it is under that agreement.
50-50 split?
I would be good with that.
All right, thank you. We'll hold that one for right now, if you don't mind.
You're amending it.
Yeah, amend it to hold that.
Second.
Any further discussion? Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under travel,
So moved.
Second.
discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Bills,
So moved.
Second.
discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under the Commissioners, authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary sheet for employees within jurisdiction of Lorraine County Commissioners.
Mr. Cortez?
I don't have anything this morning, so it will be up to the board if you want to get an update on labor negotiations. I have one slight adjustment that I'm going to pass the sheet to you right after the meeting. In fact, I can pass it now. We could just take care of it.
So no executive session?
Not that I require,
Okay.
unless Counselor has something when we get to his comments.
I think he postponed one from last week, didn't you, Jim?
We don't have a
That'd
lot
be
to say in
nice.
those. Those are the ones we pay into the municipalities.
Yeah, it's just a salary adjustment for the.
Right, it's bailiffs, and we just follow.
You don't have control over,
Right.
like a lot of things. Make these so small. Motion to approve the personnel summary sheet.
Second.
Any other discussion? Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Approve way the reading and statement of the County Commissioners meeting minutes of October 24th.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under Workforce Development, amend Resolution 12-638, adopted September 26, 2012, approving the extension of an OMU between the Commissioners, Workforce Investment Board, and the Employment Network Partners for fiscal year 2012-2013, effective October 1, 2012 through June 30, 2013. Said amendment is to extend the MOU with an additional cost being $250,601.27.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. Cortez, do you want to explain where the additional $250,000 comes from for workforce development number 11?
Well, the
The
250,000, I got it. All we're doing is rearranging the money that we get. This is not unusual, it's
We
housekeeping.
get from the state.
We get it from the state, and then we have carry forward, and then when we do individual training accounts when they're exhausted and some of the money isn't used. So the MOU is adjusted several times a year so that we can allocate that money to new clients through the employment network.
I just don't want people to think we're using general fund money where this.
There's no general fund money involved in this. It's all WEA funds. The WEA funds pass from the federal government to the state through the Department of Job and Family Services, and then we receive our allocations that way. And 98% of the work that we're required to do has to do with WEA eligible recipients for adult dislocated worker, and youth dollars. When I say youth, before everybody gets panicked, that's 16 to 23. So they're young adults, but they call it youth dollars. So these adjustments are made periodically depending on how much expenditures we have and the funding that is made available to us.
Thank you for that explanation.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under the engineer, approve and enter in a contract with K.E. McCartney and Associates Mansfield in the amount of $11,300 to provide engineer services for widening of State Route 301 to Forest Street South to north limits of Village of LaGrange and will be paid from professional services account.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under the Veterans, award bid to Future Age, Inc., DBA Provide a Ride for non-emergency transportation for veterans. 2 bids were received, this being the most responsive complying with specifications. The contract will be for 4 years at a base rate of $24 for the first year, an additional $1 increment annually with mileage of $2.05 for the first year and then $2.25 for the last year.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Mr. Cortez, County Administrator?
This is our last board meeting before the election, so I encourage everybody to go out and vote. We'll encourage you what you should do with your vote, but you should go out and participate in the democratic process that makes our country great. the ability to vote is the underpinning of what makes our country wonderful, to make choices. So if anybody watches, I encourage folks to utilize that ability and let your vote count and your mind speak for your choices. Other than that, I just want to wish Commissioner Williams happy birthday. He had a birthday yesterday. I think you're going on, about 46 now?
37. Thank you.
So we didn't want to let that auspicious occasion
You don't want him to pass
pass
me up after my annual 40th birthday.
Well, he's catching up with you pretty quick.
Yeah, he is catching up.
I think next year you start moving backwards.
That's what I
That's a woman's prerogative. That's all I have for this morning. Thank you.
Minister Ennis, Assistant County Prosecutor.
I only had one update that I was going to give you. If we're not going to have an executive session, it can wait till next week.
Great.
Okay.
Commissioners report.
As Mr. Cortez stated, I would hope that everybody would take the opportunity to make sure that they vote this election. Not going to tell you who to vote for either, but I would hope that you would vote for our 911 levy. It's very important for the county as a whole, and also the TB levy, which is like the second time in history that we're asking for less money for a levy. So it's very important for those two issues, and got a lot of great candidates, so make sure you get out there and vote. This past Sunday, as we were talking about before the meeting, went to Sherrod Brown's fundraiser, and I thought it was, first they said it was Arnold Horshack, then they said it was Epstein, so it was Bowser?
It was Bowser.
Bowser, but he was very entertaining. He did the welcome, but he almost like a stand-up comedian, and he played the piano, and he did a great welcome for Sherrod Brown, and it was very well attended. Then Monday, I attended my Goodwill board meeting, and every year they do an opportunity for usually the Girl Scouts, but they're going to open it up to the Boy Scouts also. If you donate at least 2 bags of items to any Goodwill location, you'll get a recycling patch. So that's open up to both Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts this year. Yesterday, I went to WOBLWDLW for a interview, and just going from the northern part of the county all the way down 58 to the southern part of the county to Route 20, and just seeing all the devastating flooding and trees down. And I just hope, we need to have our prayers out there for all those people that are struggling, trying to get their basements cleared out. Hopefully their basement's not their whole entire house, and all the people that passed away in New York. And it's a tragedy, and hopefully, we'll get through that, and this will be the last storm like that in a long time. I also met with a couple ladies yesterday concerning Vet to Vet, and they're hoping to get organized in order to pick up some pieces of where other entities are not helping veterans. So they're hopefully will be up and running shortly. They're a really good group of people, and I'll let you know more when they get organized. So, and I think that is the end of my report.
All done?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you to all of our safety forces and the volunteers who responded. It was an ugly couple of days. Parts all over the county still are without service. This week, County Commissioners Association, we had our Metropolitan Regional Affairs Conference call, moving forward on committee priorities, on, commissioners strongly support Job and Family Services Permanency Investments, Jim, the Wonderful Kids Initiative, Connect the Dots Initiative for Transitioning Youth Process, which ties right into our workforce development. Again, urging the 50% reimbursement rate for our indigent defense, which is a large part of our budget. And he talked about some of the Ohio public defender issues taking over, and the state funding defense of all death penalty cases, where it doesn't fall on our locals against our indigent.
Are they going to do that? They've been talking about that for a while. That would really take some burden off of local costs.
It's being talked about, so let's hopefully we can have some success in next year's General Assembly. Also, WOBL, WDLW, thank you to them for letting us appear on their radio program. I also spoke to the Horizon Science Academy last week. They've got some nice programs going. It was nice to see what the kids are doing. Again, thank you to Avon Lake High School. Their candidates debate last week. The kids do a great job presenting that. Also attended Genesis House Purple Project fundraiser and got to meet Virginia Beckham, the new director, since Marilyn Zeidner has left. Very nice lady. Looks like she's looking to do a lot of things for the organization. And again, exercise your right to vote. Between now and Tuesday, the Board of Elections is open. It'll be open Saturday and Sunday. Thank you. End of my report.
Sunday too?
Yep.
Wow.
First, attended the Lorain County Beautiful Awards on Thursday night. Great event. Got to see a lot of talented individuals there. They're going through and improving Lorain County. Just want to thank them for their investment in the county and for everyone that made that program so successful. Actually, one of the places in Amherst, my hometown, Corks and Stubby won one of the awards on the great job that they did there. So Paul did a wonderful job with that facility. What else? Oh, I guess probably the most important thing that came up is I was talking with the developer regarding the old courthouse. And we're going to take a look into seeing what we can do with the will if the board agrees, but might be able to get them involved in order to go through and have them purchase the courthouse with the lease back. Do a couple things. One, it would give property taxes to the city of Elyria, but it would also allow us to get the funding in order to go through and do the renovations of the courthouse.
Is that a not-for-profit, I'm assuming, or is it a for-profit?
Well, it's a for-profit. It's actually one of the developers that are looking at St. Joe's that I told the city of Lorain to get in contact with. They're going to come out hopefully in the next week or two. We're going to do a tour of the facility and see what we can come up with. There's going to be a lot of paperwork in order to get off of that will.
It took us 7 years
Right.
for Green Acres.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if we don't do anything, and then we're going to have a Green Acres in downtown Elyria. And what I mean by that is a building that's just falling apart. Also met with the coroner, looking at different locations on there. He sent Mr. Cortez 3 possibilities, so I'm going to take that up with him later this week, and hopefully he can give us an update at his budget hearing as far as which one he would like to go to. And we have our budget hearings later today, and I think that's it. So.
That's it? Okay.
Public speak.
The-
Budget hearing. Budget hearings first. Okay.
Board
Oh,
correspondence?
you don't want to do the budget hearings now?
I was just going to do.
Okay.
We only got
Sure, we could do that.
motion on it, right?
Yeah.
Board correspondence?
I move the reading be waived.
Second.
Discussion, Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Dan Talerick, treasurer.
I feel I'm the opening act for the Beatles, since I'm the first one here, and then the Common Pleas Court will be later, so gotta get things started. The budget, last year when I was here, I gave you the budget for 2012. You asked a couple questions if we could cut back on a couple of things. I said I thought we could. Our chief deputy had retired. I wasn't gonna hire him back, hire anybody. You cut the budget $50,000. But that was just a proposed budget. What I did this year is I took the budget from this year, I'm just giving it back to you with $18,142 extra in payroll. There's a reappraisal coming, and we're probably going to need more money. Any questions?
Oh, how
You're
much
on a
money?
lean machine over there, you guys.
Yeah, less than
Well,
400
everything,
bucks.
all the other line items are the same.
Right, yeah. There wasn't any changes. Did you have something, Mr. Williams?
Well, no, you said you're going to need more money on top of.
There's a general reappraisal coming, and I know the bulk of the work's going to be done by the auditor's office,
Right.
but we get a little flow over in ours.
All right.
So possibly we're going to need to do some overtime. We did no overtime. We did crunch some numbers, and I did not hire a chief deputy.
All right, how much are you looking at?
18,000.
18,000.
Okay, I didn't know if that was on top of the 18.
No, that's the payroll and
okay.
PERS.
And that's not necessarily going to get spent next
No.
year anyway if we don't have.
Might not
overtime,
to.
right.
Any questions? I'd also urge everyone to vote on Tuesday, but not being as polite as you guys are. If anybody asks me, I'll tell you who I think you should vote for or believe you should vote for. So, but I won't say it up here. And one other comment: before you get going with the courthouse, the old courthouse, I do have the old deed.
Okay.
And somebody might want to read that, because there's some qualifications in there.
Yeah.
Did you send that up to us,
Caveats
Dan?
in there. Pardon
Did you
me?
send that up to us?
I can do that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions?
No, thank you,
Thank you very much. Happy Halloween.
thank you. Okay. Next is,
Yeah, Judge Burge and Tim Luby for common pleas. Domestic.
yeah. Did I forget my second page?
Good
You
morning.
won $6 grand more?
That's all, absolutely.
Wow.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Luby for the General Division Common Pleas Court. I think the treasurer does himself not well by undermining him. I think they were the lead act, and we'll follow them to the best of our ability. Yes, Commissioner, you pointed out exactly it. Our 2013 budget is approximately $6,700 more than our than our 2012 budget. It is exactly the same budget that we submitted in May of this year, and so if you have any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
No, actually, Tim, just going over some of the paperwork you sent, you're working with $1 million less than you were in 2009, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You sent two different between the expenditures and the budgets.
Yeah, I when I prepared the budget, two things, and I think, Commissioner Kukowski, you've said it in the past, and it was painful to hear, but in the past, budgets were a wish list, and I think I'm proud to say that in the time that I've been the court administrator, I truly look at our numbers and look at what we expend and what we propose in a budget and try to match those up, and I think that this is a reflection of that.
Right.
I think most of the departments have done that too. It's no longer that tax budget wish list that's,
Correct.
10 million over revenue when
Right.
we first came in office. So,
Absolutely.
now it's actually true, close numbers, so thank you.
Yeah, I
You're welcome.
appreciate that you did come in and with a true budget and not a wish list, so I
Yep.
appreciate that a lot.
I'm just looking at the computer system software.
Yeah,
The
that would,
10
go ahead, I'm sorry, Commissioner.
Yeah, just what updates are you doing?
That would be probably the largest change in the budget compared to the other ones. You'll see that there were some decreases and some increases. That would represent the largest increase. Our computer system software, I reported to you this a little bit last year on this. We've been attempting to do a countywide case management system replacement. We've known for a while that we need to move in that direction, and we've taken a step back. Instead of us individually just going out and buying a system, we said to some other justice system partners, would it be more beneficial if instead of just the court, the Common Pleas General Division, maybe the Domestic Relations Court and maybe the Probate Court could also benefit from that? And it's a long way of answering your question, but to move forward, one of the things we have to do is continue on for the next year or so with our existing system. We need to do some basic things like electronic notification. We send out an inordinate number of communication to the prosecutor. We print it out, we stick it in interoffice mail, and it takes a couple days, but it also kills consumables. We need to be sending that stuff down electronically. The vendor right now won't do it unless we start paying them some money. So this is a small part of that. Honestly, this won't even cover most of those costs. We're going to probably subsidize those through special projects funds of the courts. But like I said, this is just a small part of that.
Tim, I have a question. Are you still
Sure.
working with your municipal courts on that? We had met 3 years ago, a few times over a couple of years, about combining and doing one case management.
That is still the plan, Commissioner. Lorain has moved forward already. They went ahead with AMCAD and bought that and instituted that. Ultimately, it would be our objective to, whether we use the same system as them or Illyria, for us to get a lot of our data from them because, for example, a significant number of municipal court cases are bound over to the Common Pleas Court. All that work has been done data-wise at the municipal court. When they ship it over to us, Ron's staff, the clerk of courts, has to re-enter all that data. Same thing over in the prosecutor's office. When they are looking to indict that case, they have to re-enter all that data. So even if we don't, ideal solution would be all in the same system. Even if that doesn't work, What we should do is get some data inputs so that we can take their data straight, convert it to whatever system we have, and then not have to use personnel to key that information in. So that is an objective. It's part of a larger one, even more than the internal justice system, but yes.
Okay, so that's still on the horizon.
Still on the
hopefully.
horizon, still the goal.
Good.
Great. I don't have any questions.
Well, going off the budget, since I do have the judge here too, I did walk through the courthouse and took a look at some of the issues. And that one of the big issues is you don't have any way to get someone who has a handicap into the courthouse because that system's failed. And then just talking with the employees over there as far as moving over the group from the Columbia Gas Building into the courthouse. Would still like to do that, correct?
I think it's something that I would recommend for the commissioners to consider.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you still need Karen Davis's help?
The assessment of whether or not it would be a practical solution is outside of my knowledge.
Would the board be willing to allow Karen Davis to work on this so we could take a look at
I
it?
have a couple of questions, though, before we go there. A year ago, when you lost all the PSI money and everything, the request was to put everybody into Columbia Gas. We got that building ready and moved everybody else out. I don't understand the reasoning having to put there. You said just because of management purposes, having them all in the same building. Because that was our,
I
remember?
don't recall that being our suggestion, quite frankly. I recall that that was offered as a solution. The thing that I'm honestly frustrated about is I don't know why we didn't consider the old courthouse as a solution. I candidly can't. I don't know.
Yeah, that came from the judges. I don't remember who I spoke to or you.
It wasn't me.
That's how we ended up doing. Maybe it was Judge Zaleski at the time, or
Commissioner, I just don't know.
Okay.
My recollection is that we didn't propose the Columbia Gas. My recollection is that we said we need a space for these individuals. It needs to be located in conjunction closely with the Justice Center. I don't recall that we suggested the Columbia Gas building. The thing that I'm disappointed in is that I don't recall us suggesting the old courthouse.
Well, I think our issue was, though, is they cut that funding on June 15th, and we had 2 or 3 weeks.
We had a very short period of time to scramble, absolutely.
And they were not giving us any reimbursement to house the PSI people.
That is correct.
So we're still paying that, another way of the governor cutting his budget and dropping it on us to
In many
pay his
respects.
capital costs. He cut his leases.
Absolutely.
And we're paying our capital costs. I mean, that's where I guess it fit in. Again, I don't remember what the scenarios were, but I know it was working with, were you admin judge last year, Judge Birch?
No.
No, okay, so it must have been Judge Zaleski who made those suggestions. Somewhere in discussions, so. But we ended up there and got that all fitted for you.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought it would be on there.
And to move over here, if we've got capital costs, could be an issue,
I understand.
so. I mean, if we can figure out a way for it not to have capital cost, I wouldn't have a major issue with it. I'm just
Absolutely.
concerned is any additional capital costs, because we're already talking about with paying off the St. Joe's note.
Yep.
And any capital expenses we have to, that we reviewed 3 months ago,
Sure.
the major ones. that-
I can appreciate that.
Well, I think if
Absolutely.
we can go through and move everyone out of that building, put that up for sale, we'll lose the monthly costs that we have for utilities. I did bring this up actually last year about moving everybody in there. And at the time, people were concerned about the conditions on it.
You're right, that probably was one of the issues, the conditions
Yeah.
of the building, correct?
But we do need to do something with that building. It's only going to get worse. So I know we're looking at borrowing money to do renovations to the county properties, something that's been put off for many years that we now have to address. But yeah, I would be supportive of putting them over there and then taking a look at selling the Columbia Gas building. It's a good building. I think if it went up on the market, you'd probably get some type of attorneys that would want to buy it. How long is it going to take, that I can't answer, but I think it's definitely worthwhile, and it's going to allow them to be more effective in their management, having everyone under one roof. Is that correct?
It would, and again, we stand ready to work with the commissioners in whatever way we can.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, as long as you're not coming through and you want to remove walls, and from my conversation, it wasn't that. It was more of maybe some new carpet, because the carpet's in there probably from the 70s or the 60s, and been doing some painting, which is things I would think that our maintenance department could do. So,
Yeah, that's all maintenance stuff.
yeah, it's basically the cost would come down to what I refer to as funny money, because we're paying the maintenance department no matter what.
Okay.
I just think it's putting another load on them if they're doing it. I mean, floor covering part, I don't see the maintenance company, our maintenance people doing the floor covering in particular,
Oh,
but the
you-
painting probably is. I just don't know if there's any capital cost wall moving.
I don't
outlets
think so,
needed.
Commissioners. We
Okay.
have, I asked my probation staff to assess it, to where they would be putting these people. I said, let's look at this globally, because I hate to do things twice and 3 times over. I said, let's not
Me too.
move the PSI department over to the second floor and then say to ourselves, maybe they would have been better in the basement. So I said, look at that as a concept, come back to me with a solution. And they did, and they said, we believe PSI would be appropriately located on the 3rd floor. Then my next question was, what changes, based on your not experiences as contractors, but what changes would you envision making to this space in order to make it usable? And I said, can you just break it down for me? And they said, no changes in walls, literally just, hey, we have a jury box here, we need to move that out of here because it doesn't serve a purpose. And as I think Commissioner Williams said, probably some cosmetic stuff, replacing floor coverings and that kind of stuff. But based
There's
on...
plenty of electrical in there. And
That's what I was going to say.
We had data, when I was over there operating on that 2nd floor, we absolutely had data connections and electrical connections. We were as a little bit more modern than we are over in the Justice Center, but pretty much it's ready to go.
Yeah, you can put the Wi-Fi in there and everything else that you do need. The biggest thing I saw was actually demolishing the old clerk's
Counters
counter.
and stuff,
So,
yeah.
and, again, I think this is.
that's maintenance, stuff like
Yeah,
demo that
maintenance.
stuff. So.
Yeah, I would volunteer my time to go over there with the sledgehammer, absolutely.
You would violate a union
Actually, you know what?
contract. Tim,
I
you
would not want to
violate
do
a
that,
union
Commissioner.
contract.
I know my assistant Neil, he actually volunteered to go over there to do it just to get some frustration. I don't know if it's working with me or what, but he wanted to get some frustration out.
That means he doesn't have to walk in this inclement weather. He gets his exercise inside the building.
There he goes.
Well, Commissioners, if you don't have any further questions, I thank you for your time.
Yeah,
Thank you for
if you
coming
could
in.
bring over the prints to Karen.
We don't, do we have prints? We do have prints, okay, I'll
Yeah.
give them to you, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you,
Judge,
Commissioners.
see you.
Have a good day.
I forgot one thing in my report. Our solid waste department is having an America Recycles Day, and it is going to be November 15th at our there's 2 places you could drop it off. At our collection center, which is 540 South Abbey Road in Elyria, or the Restore, which is Habitat for Humanity, which is located at 214 East 34th Street. And they're collecting different materials, such as countertops, cabinets, windows, doors, light fixtures, hardware, refrigerator, stove, and tools. So all these items that will be donated or dropped off at our collection center will get transferred over to Habitat for Humanity for them to build houses like they do for people in Lorain County. So if you have items that you need to get rid of, that will be your day to do that, November 15th.
One last thing for me too. Just wanted to thank Avon Lake, the city and the high school for doing a great job. Where they seem to be the main focus of the presidential election this year, and Mitt Romney came in, and Avon Lake did a wonderful job as far as keeping their students in class and being able to have that event with over around 3,000 people there. So,
I saw that.
And our sheriff's department for helping out on that.
Yes. Yeah.
Cooperation and collaboration.
Yeah, and it was good to, it was a bipartisan event. The Avon Lake mayor was out there too, so glad to see that.
We need one resolution to adjust current inside millage. We're going to adjust current inside millage from 1.25 mils to general fund and 0.35 mils to non-retirement, to 1.40 mils to general fund and 0.20 mils to non-retirement, to be filed with the Budget Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Public comment?
Anybody wishing to address the board?
Good morning. My
Morning.
name is Linda Ashley, and I live at 433 Oak Knoll, and I'm in Amherst Township. 7 weeks ago today, Christine Winrod and I stood before you with a resolution asking the 3 commissioners to stand behind the county residents and fight for the fair and equitable treatment in regards to our sewer rates from the city of Lorain. We just wanted to kind of bring you guys up to speed and find out exactly where we stand. Since that date, the mayor of Lorain and Lorain City Council did rescind our rate to the original fee of 130% of the in-city rate, but they did tack on an operations and maintenance fee. And this fee was only imposed upon the select group of their customers, which are the approximately 1,000 customers that reside within Amherst Township, Sheffield Village, or Sheffield Township, and Elyria Township. The fee will begin in January of 2013 and will be increased by 5% yearly until the year of 2017, and at that time it will be revisited again by Lorain City Council and their politicians to decide whether or not we continue to pay that. The mayor of Lorain, Mr. Fowler, and Mr. Timko are claiming that Amherst Township is responsible for their sanitary sewer overflows and that we have an infiltration and inflow problem and within our township, and that's the reason that they're opposing these operations and maintenance fees. And they are basing those fees on a front footage basis. Our trustee Neil Lynch has been asking for data from Lorain to support the claim that Amherst Township's responsible for the SSOs, or the sanitary sewer overflows. And on September 27th, there was a meeting with Mr. Fowler, Mr. Timko, Mr. Lynch, and a bunch of other engineers from the Lorain County offices. Lorain did not bring the information that was requested, even though Neil had been requesting the information from August 15th. And this meeting was September 27th. Mr. Lynch has asked them again for the information. I believe Mr. Cortez has been asking him for information, and that was 5 weeks ago. Mr. Fowler did send the pump station flow numbers to us on the 25th of October, and with a note stating that he had sent the information on October 9th. Nobody has received that information. No one had gotten the email. There's still information that's missing that has been requested since August 15th, which is 11 weeks. It was requested again to be brought to that meeting, which was September 27th, which was 5 weeks ago. Our questions for you today are a couple here. First of all, have the commissioners been in any talks with Lorain since the September 12th commissioners meeting when you signed the resolution? And what has been discussed, and where do we stand, and where do the talks stand at this point? And I know, Mr. Kalo, you had requested quantitative and qualitative numbers from Lorain to justify their O&M fees.
Correct.
Have you gotten that? And if not, are you persistent in obtaining it?
No, because the board made the decision that you're urging, and Commissioner Williams, to give it to Mr. Cortez to go after that. So basically, I don't think the board's had the interaction. I think it's been Jim.
So you haven't had any meetings with the mayor in regards to this at all?
Nope.
So you've turned it all over to Mr. Cortez?
By the wishes
okay.
of the board.
Right.
That's fine. Mr. Cortez, have you had any meetings with Lorain?
I have attempted to schedule meetings with Lorain.
But they're not
But
responding?
I do now have one on the docket for next week. I did receive some information last week from the Safety Service Director. I have not gone through it yet, and I have not sent it down to Trustee Lynch yet to take a look at. So I'm not sure if it fills the void of what we're looking for. That was on the agenda for Monday, but with the storms coming in, we got a little bit waylaid in the last 2 days.
Okay.
So I'm hoping to get to it today, but I wouldn't say that they've given us all the information. We just need to see what's there. It may be a duplication. And I do agree, this October 9th email has become elusive as to who received it and where it went.
And I sent an email to Mr. Fowler asking specifically who received it, and he will not answer my email.
So I've been persistent with the city to get a meeting scheduled to discuss exactly what we talked about, which was a resolution, if in fact these problems do exist. And I don't know what the data is going to suggest as far as the severity of it, but I do remember, as I informed you at a group meeting, that problem was there in the early thousands. It was identified. It's just simply that nobody did anything about it. And so the data should tell us how severe the problem is and give us an idea of what we're dealing with, but we still need to go in and we need to put the cameras down and smoke test and do all that work back there to alleviate that problem so that we can better deal with why the fee is there. If we alleviate the problem, that underpins the justification, that takes out the underpinning for the justification of the fee.
Right.
And I'm hopeful that we're going to be able to work out that solution to get that done.
And are you hoping to do that before January, before their increase kicks in? Or is it going to be like inclement weather where that's not going to happen?
Well, actually doing the cameras may not help in the wintertime. If the ground freezes,
right.
and we may not see the type of I&I that we're looking at, but we can certainly start doing some smoke testing and those things. They don't really depend on the weather conditions. With the smoke testing, you're more looking for illegal connections and taps into the systems. So some of that work could probably begin pretty quick, but I think it's going to be a job that's going to have to be bid because I anticipate significant costs. There's a lot of homes there.
Like 1,000 homes, right? 1,000 homes, Linda?
Well, in Hidden Valley itself, we have like 800 homes.
Yeah, it's going to be a big project, and you're going to have to get quotes and specs and things like that, but it should be something that's not hard to accomplish. And it's going to take, several months to get all that done. Just putting the cameras through, it's not just putting the cameras through, it's looking at all the data that comes back from that to identify issues that take some time. But I want to get those talks underway. I think the board here has been, I don't want to say, very open to sharing the cost with Lorain because we're considering some of the stormwater issues. And we just got to get them to the table and get a cooperative agreement to do that. Let me say this. We don't have the right to go in here and do it ourselves.
Right.
We don't own that sewer. So the county itself can't go in there and unilaterally start working on that sewer. We need the cooperation of Lorain.
And that's
Sort
why
of like
we were
walking on
asking for the
Brentwood Lake
data.
property.
Right.
And we're asking for the data basically for our detention basin, because they're claiming that it's overflowing. We would like to see what the flow meters say.
Well, that detention basin doesn't belong to this subdivision. That detention basin was put in for the Amherst Township sewer that was put in.
Right, I understand that, but when they're claiming that Amherst Township is overflowing the sanitary sewers,
Well, I think
they're
that
not
was
bringing us
actually
any
on
of
that
that.
September 27th meeting. I was there as well as Mr. Cordes, and I think what some people in city council were stating was more of a fear tactic, saying that they were referring to you as the people in the south
Absolutely.
that was causing the flooding.
Mhm.
After discussion, I believe that's pretty obvious that you're not causing any flooding in the city of Lorain.
And the Amherst Township sewer is absolutely causing no flooding because nothing has been built on it, really, per se.
Right.
Not much
All right,
usage there.
so the tanks were sized, and at the time, and in fact, they were upgraded, and Trustee Lynch informed me of a lot of this stuff. We paid for a good portion of that, and then to the city, but it was a city project. And apparently, they upgraded them substantially when they did them, so there was even more capability there. The fear was that the build-out that was projected on the Route 58 corridor where the new sewer went in was going to send so much at peak that it would overwhelm the system that was running through Hidden Valley there. So the negotiation was to be able to retain and then slowly discharge so that we didn't overwhelm the system. So nothing behind that, those storage retention areas should be affecting that. But they weren't put in for the Hidden Valley subdivision.
Right, but they're talking Amherst Township as a whole, and then they are referring to, because one time they'll talk about Amherst Township overflowing, one time they say it's specifically to Hidden Valley.
Yeah, and then they forgot where they were sending it a couple times.
Exactly, and they don't even know where the
Well, and
sanitary
they
sewer
know
goes.
also that the majority of the problems is in the city of Lorain. They said 52% of the issues are in the central of Lorain.
And they have said that they are in central
And
Lorraine,
Mr. Fowler
correct?
came out and did admit during that meeting that he just basically grabbed the 200% number out of the air.
Right.
And even with the 1094 service fee that they're charging you, they weren't really able to come up with the true justification on that.
And that's what we're asking. That's why we
Right.
wanted the data, and we've been asking, and
Yeah.
it's been more than enough time to get
Well,
the data to us.
I think you got a clear answer when you had your meeting with the mayor, and that was, he's not going to do anything until after the election.
Absolutely. And we are going to call him next Wednesday morning after the election to make our meeting with him. My other question is, since Lorain is not sending us this information, and we've requested it, it's been 11 weeks for the one request. It was changed up a little bit after the September 27th meeting to make it easier on Lorain. That's been 5 weeks. We still do not have our data. What can we do to make them give the data to our trustees, or even to give it to Mr. Cordes?
If the data is available, if reports are available, and then we make a public records request. Now, the public records request, there's two ways of going. You can go in and ask to see the data, which should be produced if it's available in retention form, if they've been recording it. And they should be able to make that available pretty
Okay.
quick. Or you can request copies of the documents under their public records request. I don't know what the city does with theirs. We give the first 4 pages for free, and I think it's 5 cents a copy thereafter. But if it's only a handful of copies, we usually don't charge. We're pretty liberal with ours here. They have, what is the statement, Jerry? A reasonable amount of time to make those records, those copies available to you. And then thereafter, they don't comply with that, and you believe that those records exist. And I think you have to go to the prosecutor's office to talk to them. I don't know, right? Is that?
No, file a lawsuit.
You file a lawsuit to compel them to release those public documents.
Now, if there's a public records request, is that an application that we have to fill
Well,
out,
it
or
doesn't
is it
necessarily
just
have to
an
be an
email?
application. The law has been pretty,
It's pretty liberal.
pretty well defined in this. You cannot even really require a written application, but most times that gives clarity to the issue, and it also documents what you've asked for.
Okay.
So you have some proof that, these are the things we asked for. Sometimes we get public document requests here from folks, the documents don't exist. The one thing that I need to make clear is we don't have to prepare a special document or a special report to meet the demands of a public documents request, because the document doesn't exist. So, it gets a little elusive. So you may want to try to be specific about what you're asking for, so that you can pinpoint that more fully,
Okay.
so they can say, so they don't say, well, this doesn't exist.
Okay.
It becomes challenging, because the other thing you can't do is you really can't go on a fishing expedition and say anything and everything and all.
Right.
Because the courts have also ruled that that's too broad, and therefore nobody could comply with that type of request. It's too voluminous. So you need to narrowly define it down. I think that you do have a pretty clear expectation of what you want in your list. Whether they actually have those reports available and they've been taking that data and recording it, I don't know. But I thought I heard Tim at the meeting say that they do keep that data from the systems. Neil, you were there, didn't they say that
They did.
Corey Timko, I'm sorry. He did say they were recording that, didn't he?
Yes.
He said it was available. Want me to come up?
Yeah.
Sure.
This mic on?
I think they're both on.
I'll scoot over, you can have this one.
That's the deed.
I'll make you guys copies when it's.
I'm Neil Lynch, 8132 Oberlin Road, trustee in Amherst Township. What Mr. Cordez is referring to is correct. When we had asked for the information for the flow monitoring devices and all the level sensing and the detention basin north of K Drive, the utilities director did indicate that that information is maintained and it is in a digital electronic format. To Mr. Cordez's issue on the public records request, he is correct, and we understand that. We certainly don't want to be in any way perceived as harassing and asking for this. This has started out, first off, to justify these cost increases, as Linda's indicated. Right now in our mind, since the data is not forthcoming, and based on what we've learned, it's our position they aren't. But the one thing we do want to resolve is the I&I issue, because based on the preliminary pumping information that Mr. Timko has provided, we do know that there is some inflow and infiltration. It's not causing a problem in Amherst Township right now. We've also had the acknowledgement at the meeting on September 27th, it is not causing sanitary backup in the city of Lorain. They've acknowledged that at the meeting. But the concern is that long-term, we know this area is going to develop. And they aren't separating the Hidden Valley area. They also mentioned the airport sewer and obviously the sewer along 58 and 113. Well, we don't want that I&I to continue or even to get worse, because that's going to inhibit the development in the long term, and eventually there will be an issue. So we do need this information so we can identify where you put your resources first to resolve that issue. And as Mr. Cordez has attempted to do, was to meet with them to see if there could be some collaboration between Lorain County and the city of Lorain, and hopefully next week, maybe that'll be the start of it. I don't know if they've been tied up in other things or if this isn't the most important item right now for them, that this has been delayed. But we do have January's coming. We're going to be pretty upset if we start seeing these O&M charges on there, and yet we don't see any factual basis to justify them, which means then you just have the suspicion this is just nothing but a money grab. And our concern is the difficulty this causes for our other public services that are all important here for the county to operate as a whole if we really want to turn this county around. And I'm talking about our school systems, I'm talking our safety forces, I'm talking public service for our roads. You know, these are all funded by taxpayers, and the amount of money they receive is limited. You know, so they've got to decide how they divvy this up. And we really don't want to be dumping it down in the sewer if it wasn't necessary, and it's going to be taking away from those other public services. So we're going to keep on working with Lorain. I don't know where this October 9th email went to. It was very clear. It didn't indicate who received it, but it just seemed like, well, does that mean you're not resending it? Just resend it then. That's just a push of a button. Should be pretty easy.
I'm hopeful. The county, this Board of Commissioners indicated to you that they're going to cost share with Lorain to resolve this problem. We're at the point we need to be at. We just need to get them to the point they need to be at. So this issue, it's not going to go away. I make phone calls all the time. Well, we're not going to let it go away until either they say no and we don't have any ability to go further. So you know we're working on it, but we're working from the underdog perspective, same as you are. We don't have the high ground in this issue. We'd be a little bit more aggressive. So we'll report back after that meeting, after those discussions.
Okay.
As I indicated to the group when we met, they've made a justification for the fee predicated upon this problem. Now, my goal for this board is to try to resolve that problem. I can't promise you that the fee will go away, and I can't promise you that they won't charge you more. But first, I want to take that problem, fix that problem, and then see what happens after we fix that problem. I just take things one step at a time. So they made it clear at the first meeting we had that this was because they were treating a lot of water that didn't need to be treated, and their costs were going up exponentially, and they believed it was all because of peak flow I&I and problems with that. That we can fix if we put enough effort into finding out where it's coming from. Ignoring it and just paying more to treat stormwater is kind of silly.
And they did agree to providing that information, so.
They did agree to it, and that's the other problem. I mean, there should be no need to actually go out there and do these cameras and things if the data is not supporting it.
Well, again, as I've indicated, I do believe that there's a problem with that. There was a problem with it 10 years ago. Systems do, over time, develop problems with this. This one shouldn't be so severe, though, because it's all plastic up there, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of clay
Right.
tile and piping, which usually presents more challenges. But over time, even joints in the plastic separate, and they got O-rings in there, and you know there's.
Could be that. It could be just a cover, a manhole cover. It could be some simple fixes. But again, without the data,
Right.
we don't know where to focus the attention. Since, as you pointed out, Jim, Lorain owns the sanitary system.
Right.
So we need their permission even to work with them to get this resolved.
I was out in I spent about 5 hours yesterday driving around the townships, especially the southeastern end of Lorain County, and there was all new rivers where I didn't know there was rivers before coming through. And I can imagine if we had an open manhole and we were taking, you know, some of that flow that I saw coming off of those lands, and it wasn't small. These were torrents coming off of some of the land. And if we're taking that into, as you suggested, a leaking manhole or even a cover missing, or
A whole saw drilling a few holes into your standpipe there to drain a field.
Right. Doesn't take much, so we got to get in there and find it. Well, let me state this again. That doesn't mean that they're going to change your fee. It just means that we've fixed the problem that they've indicated was a justification. I don't know what'll happen after that.
You know what, we'll call them every month because we're going to get our bill every month with the fee on it. So, and we want to make it on record too that the flooding that's occurring right now is because of Hurricane Sandy, not the Amherst Township residents and not Hidden Valley.
I don't think anybody said it was from anybody from Hidden Valley.
Well, they're using 2011 figures for some of the flooding issues they've had in Lorain, stating that that's what's our problem from the I&I, but that was a historic year of rainfall. So we need to go back even further than 2011. We need to get data from other years.
I think we got that covered during that meeting, that they finally admit that you're not causing the flooding in Lorain.
Well, we're just making it on record again.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Did you want to speak? Come on up. Yeah, you. Oh, no, back here.
No, right.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't know you wanted to speak also. You can come up after. No, okay. Come on. Oh, you just got to state your name and address for the record, you know that.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ray Kershaw. I'm a concerned Lorain County veteran. I come here today to ask our commissioners to please reconsider their stance last meeting on Lorain County's veterans. We have Lorain County Community Center, and you agreed upon $60,000 of the $120 that Lorain agreed on to fund partially the operating expenses of the City of Lorain Community Center. And it's not the City of Lorain, it's the county. We are worried about, as Lori said, people don't get out into the far reaches of our county. We have 25 to 27,000 veterans in this county, and they are in need of services. We are a brotherhood. We've fought. Some of our fellow veterans have died as protecting our county, our country. We've been posturing for months and now years on trying to get the community center up and operating. There are very many components to this community center, including the VA, including Valor House, whom we've been trying to pull into our county to help our veterans. We have many things that are part of our county involved in this. And I feel by dragging our feet, of course, our operating expenses could not be properly taken care of because we can't get tenants in there due to the fact that we can't prove that we're going to have the building open. We're not sure it's viable. Very many other things have been brought forward in the years. We came to an agreement finally with the state of Ohio, the city of Lorain, and then we bring it back to the county, not only saving the city of Lorain and the county each $225,000 on the loan that was guaranteed, which brings down the payment to approximately $425,000 apiece, I believe. Now we're going to ask for something else. It stops us dead in our tracks again. It not only means that we may lose this deal again, and then the county and the city both would be back to owing their $750,000 to the state of Ohio. But now we're going to hold it all up for $425,000.
Actually, I'm going to correct you. The $425,000 that's been agreed, we're done with the state. We just have to write them the check. There's no hold up on that. So that's allowing the city of Lorain, and I told them about a developer to get in contact with. And this is a developer that was actually working with the VA back in 2010 as far as moving them to a different location and building a newer facility. So the $425,000 the city put up and the county put up, that's going to the state. We're no longer guarantors on it. The $60,000 that you're referring to is money that's coming from Mercy. Mercy gave $360,000 towards to South Shore, and they were going to use that for a matching fund in order to demolish the property. City of Lorain came up with another grant that they could use for it. They're now asking for $120,000 of that money to be used for operational costs to keep it going. They said the vital part of it was getting the boiler system up and going. And Jim, you and I talked about this. That's about $15,000 to $20,000 to do that. So they have an additional $40,000 in order to go through and get that to maintain St. Joe's. The other money is going to go back to pay the city of Lorain because of their utilities. So they're going to get a huge portion of that paid for the utilities. They will also get, if it does switch over to a private contractor, or a private developer, they'll get property tax on it, they'll get the income tax on it, so they will get their $425,000 that they pay to this state of Ohio as a guarantor paid back to them. Plus, they'll continue to get the income tax that St. Joe's is going to create over hopefully many successful years. What the board asked for is to create a partnership and just say, you know, at St. Joe's, we're putting the $425,000 in as well. Because you have to remember, that wasn't our debt. It wasn't the city's debt either. We were a guarantor on it. South Shore, well, they had some issues with the handling of the money, and they were going to default on it. So we came in, made an agreement in order to pay it off so the city of Lorain could work with this developer and hopefully get it over to a private company. By having this partnership, the county taxpayers, along with the city of Lorain taxpayers, are going to get paid back. And that's all we're asking for, is just a partnership to get this. And with that partnership, they will get the $360,000 if they feel it's needed to go towards the operation of St. Joe's to keep it functional. So it's not going to hold anything up. All we need is an agreement to create this partnership with the city of Lorain.
Just to cost share or not cost share, but if there's income created by the income tax, that we'll both benefit from that in the future, should it stay open, until such a time as the money that we put into it is paid off, and then the city of Lorain will be able to just keep the whole 100% of the income tax into the future.
Yeah. And we're not looking for fees, we're not looking for interest on it. All we're asking for is the $425,000 to get repaid.
Because Lorain will get repaid, so we thought the county should get repaid.
Lorain will only be getting paid if this goes through.
Right, us too.
Right.
Exactly.
Right, and
in addition, if you give your son a car and you put oil in it and it costs $60,000, and where do you ask him? Not to drive it without gas? The operating funds that were asked for were to make sure that we could operate it.
Mm-hmm.
Holding back the other 60 was a move that you thought was financially will squeak by. I don't know. I'm not sure, and hopefully that would happen. The $425,000 we're talking about could cost us 125 jobs in the city of Lorain, which is Lorain County. Would you give $425,000 to the county to create 125 jobs, possibly more?
Well, we gave the $425,000.
No, you didn't. You're
Yes, we
asking
did.
for it back.
We did.
No, we're not.
We're asking for it back because the city of Lorain is getting paid back.
Over
The city
time,
of
if
Lorain will eventually be paid back, I suppose,
With the income tax that they
with the
get, right?
income tax, if it goes through,
Right.
because we're now held up again.
Right. That's all we're asking for.
We're in
If
limbo.
it's successful, to pay us back as well. So when you're creating a partnership. If it's successful, the taxpayers of Lorain County paid $425,000 on a loan that wasn't in their name. They were a guarantor. They did that when South Shore was still operational and had $360,000. If you looked at it as a private business, if you had cash flow, if you had cash and you were going to go through and file bankruptcy, they're going to take that cash before you can file the bankruptcy.
Don't compare that, Tom, no, that's an overstatement.
we're not asking
South
for
Shore
the,
didn't have 360.
we're not asking for the
Mercy offered it for the
$425,000 back right
It
now.
wasn't South Shore's money.
We're
Well,
not-
it's in South
we're
Shore's
not.
name.
We're saying-
Mercy said they would be open
Right.
to doing that,
If-
but the money is in South Shore's name.
Yeah, but I mean, it was from Mercy for a tear down. That's why
Right.
there were 6 of us had to vote on an adjustment. It's not like they had 360 to spend as they so chose.
Right, but Mercy's now open for that money to go anywhere.
No, they're, to keep it operating.
Well, they said they were also open for it.
Right, they would do it for the operating.
No,
But-
Mr. Cortez had a conversation with Mercy, and Mercy said they would be open for that money to go either to the city, to the county. You know, they're just
They
open.
did? You
Well,
did?
they're open for discussions on
Jim?
it.
You didn't tell us that.
I brought that up last week.
No?
I had a conversation with Mr. Oley, and Mr. Oley said, since the city had obtained a different match to the grant, that he was open to discussion on how the money should be used at St. Joe's.
At St. Joe's,
At
not to
St.
give
Joe's.
into the county or to the city.
Well, the at St. Joe's meant the money. I don't mean, let me back that up. They were open to further discussion of use of the funds.
Okay.
When I'm saying at St. Joe, I'm just purposing our
Okay.
discussion. So I just had talks with him about, where the feeling was going to be, because Mercy has to sign off on any use also.
Correct.
Of those funds. So I did call the CEO and have a chat with him, and he said, we'll take anything under discussion going forward, since the city has found additional resources. I might add, they could have said that since they found different resource for the grant,
Give
we're
it
going to keep
back.
it.
Give it back.
Well,
but he didn't say
told
that.
me- He just said basically 360,000, we're doing this,
Right.
and then we're done with it.
That's pretty much their exit.
Right.
That's
This
their
is
exit
their
out of the
exit.
project.
Correct. That
That's
was
how
our
they're looking at
discussion
it.
3 years ago. This
Right.
is our exit. Here's everything we're doing. Can we do it
So-
over 3 years at 120 each?
And the next payment comes in January of
Correct.
12, and then January of 13. 13 and then 14.
So the $425,000 is already, we're already writing the check for that. We're not asking for that back. We are just asking the city of Lorain to partner with us into the future should St. Joe's flourish like we all are hoping that it's going to.
Right.
The money that it's going to generate from income taxes, we're asking that they split that with us into the future until our 425, in their 425 is paid back, and then that partnership is null and void, and they get 100% after that, instead of a 50-50 split.
It's not going to hold up anything
No.
with their development.
They still have the 60,000 to go towards operations, and the other 60 may be available. We just need to have a conversation and try to get them to
We
partner
gave-
with us.
The 60 was given because they needed the funds immediately. And then we asked Mr. Cortez to have talks with the city of Lorain, which you're going to do next week.
I had two discussion with Doug Rangel, and I'm scheduled with the mayor next week.
So, and then once we get this a partnership created, I believe the board's going to allow the rest of the funds to go through. It was just going through to have our negotiations.
I appreciate that, and I hope that the county uses discretion on how this is handled. We do need this community center.
Yeah.
And I'm
Absolutely.
dressed like this today, not for impressing anyone about being in the military or doing my duty. We are a brotherhood. We at the Disabled American Veterans and all the veterans that are around know what it is to serve your country. You do what you're told, you go where you're supposed to. And today we're burying one of our fellow veterans and our brothers. And that's why I'm dressed like this, because I'm on the honor guard for Lorain. And we serve not only the city of Lorain, but also the county. So thank you very much.
Do your fouled anchors represent the Navy on your uniform?
Pardon me?
Your anchors represent the Navy on your uniform, the fouled anchors?
Our emblem is just to let different people know that we are in the Navy. And the other, of course, Sam Felton, Marine, and
I wore those fouled anchors a lot of years. They look good
Pardon
on
me?
you. I wore those anchors a lot of years. They look good on you.
But
thank you.
no, thank you for your service, and thank you for being part of.
Thank you, and don't
Thanks,
forget to
Ray.
vote.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You're right.
Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none, I guess we don't have to go in executive session, right? Just motion to adjourn?
Second.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
We're
Happy
adjourned.
Halloween.
This has been a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda for a printable copy of the agenda.
In 1787, the Continental Congress organized the lands from the Ohio River to the Mississippi into the Northwest Territories. In 1803, the first of these territories to become a state was Ohio. Ohio was in turn divided into various land grants, including the Connecticut Western Reserve in the northeast corner of the state. The Western Reserve included the area that is today Lorain County. As Ohio gradually increased its counties to the present 88, the land we know as Lorain County went through several changes. Until 1810, the area was split between Geauga and Portage counties. When the area was being organized into Lorain County in 1822, it was created out of land from Huron, Cuyahoga, and Medina counties. At the time of its birth, Lorain County included Olmsted Township, now in Cuyahoga County, Spencer and Homer Townships, now in Medina County, and Troy and Sullivan Townships, now in Ashland County. This map illustrates the county as it appeared at the time of Ohio's centennial, and although some of the townships have been absorbed by incorporation, it also represents the shape of Lorain County today. Let's take a brief historical look at each of Lorain County's 21 townships. In 1807, the Calvin Hoadley and Herman Bronson families of Waterbury, Connecticut, began the settlement of Columbia. After a 3-month trek, the pioneers arrived in their new homeland in time to celebrate Christmas. The Bronsons, including their 7-month-old son, began that winter sheltered by their overturned bobsled wagon converted into a frontier lean-to. The mouth of the Black River also saw the beginning of its first settlement in 1807, when Azariah Beebe established a trading post for Nathan Perry. This area, which 20 years earlier had seen a short-lived Moravian mission, would gradually grow into the village of Charleston in the township called Black River. Years later, this township would be removed from county maps because of the incorporation of the city of Lorain. Charleston adopted the county's name of Lorain when the city was incorporated in 1874. The dramatic growth of the city was spurred on by the expanding fishing and shipbuilding industries. In 1894, when Tom Johnson brought his steel mill to town, Lorain's destiny to be the county's largest city was assured. In 1813, the township of Ridgeville was officially organized. 3 years earlier, members of the Beebe, Terrell, and Root families had established this new settlement they called Rootstown. The change to Ridgeville was decided upon to indicate the sand ridges that passed through the area and provided transportation routes and fertile farmland. The area around the intersection of Butternut Ridge and Roots Road, first called Briggs Corner, was by 1880 known as Fields Corners and was the site of the town's water well. With the growth of the city of North Ridgeville, the township of Ridgeville was incorporated out of existence. In 1810, Silas Wilmot, along with Asa and Ira Morgan, erected a cabin on Butternut Ridge, and the community later called Eaton Township was begun. Wilmot married Chloe Hubbard of Ashtabula, and they were given the cabin, thereby becoming the township's pioneering couple. When Ridgeville Township was organized in 1813, it included Eaton, which was at that time called Holbrook. While the area was still a part of Cuyahoga County, the township of Eaton was separated from Ridgeville. Its first officers were elected in 1823, while the township was in transition to the new Lorain County. Amherst's township's founding can be traced to one Jacob Shoup. After first settling on the Black River, he moved in 1811 to the Beaver Creek. By 1815, he had erected a grist mill and the area's first distillery. Whiskeyville, today the intersection of Routes 58 and 113, earned its nickname as a center for the production of this important pioneer commodity. As the primary community of the township developed at the Old Spring, it came to be known as Amherst Corners. By 1836, the name Amherstville was recorded in the county offices, and in 1873, the town was incorporated as North Amherst. In 1909, the U.S. Postal Service had to choose between the villages of North and South Amherst. They chose the former, which then became the official and present-day Amherst. In 1917, in the northeast corner of the county, the township of Avon became another of Lorain County's 21 townships to vanish due to city incorporation. In 1814, Wilbur Cahoon had arrived from Montgomery County, New York, to become the first to settle in what was then Troy Township of Cuyahoga County. The farming community grew around its power source, the French Creek. Development along the interurban line would incorporate the northern part of the township into the city of Avon Lake in 1911, with the remainder of the township becoming the village of Avon in 1917. It was families such as the Burrell, Day, and Roots who established themselves in the Sheffield area in 1815 and 16. The township of Sheffield would not actually be created until 1824, when the newly elected Lorain County Commissioners made the township one of the first acts of their administration. The land had been primarily in Cuyahoga County prior to the 1822 reorganization. The southwest corner of the township was in Huron County and is today the only place to find a small section still called Sheffield Township. The remainder of the area has been incorporated, like its neighbor Avon, with the north becoming Sheffield Lake and the south the village of Sheffield. In 1816, Colonel Henry Brown of Stockbridge, Massachusetts, purchased a large tract of land known as Number 6, Range 19. Mr. Brown would later name the township after himself by simply adding Helm to his family name. Like the Old Saxon Ham, the suffix meant home. The Deacon Shepherd family were the first settlers when they arrived on July 4, 1817. The village of Brownhelm Mills, located in Benjamin Bacon's Mill Hollow, was one of 3 communities to develop. Bacon's Corners, or the center, was 3 miles east of the hollow, while just west of the hollow was Rugby, where stores, a church, a school, and the post office were located. The first settlers to the Grafton Township area were Jonathan and Grendall Rawson in 1816. 10 years later, the Rawsons were forced to build a grist mill, or forfeit their land under their original agreement with the Western Reserve Land Company. Railroads and quarries were the greatest influence on the growth of the village the locals called Rawsonville. The quarrying industry in particular was responsible for the influx of French-Canadian, Welsh, Irish, Polish, and German immigrants. In 1877, when the village was being incorporated, the name Rawsonville was dropped in favor of the railroad station name of Grafton. Originally a part of Elyria Township, Carlisle was settled in 1816 by John Bacon of Windham County, Vermont. When the new Lorain County was being organized in 1822, Carlisle Township became its own entity. LaPorte developed as the township village with Phineas Johnson as the first postmaster and hotel owner. In 1840, Anson Brayman's Carlisle Nursery became the first of its kind in Lorain County. Quarrying was another important industry of the township, as the sandstone blocks were used for city buildings as far away as Toronto. Founding father Heman Ely owned over 10,000 acres of the land that would be developed into the township of Elyria, and the city which also bears his family name. In 1817, Artemus Beebe headed a work crew that came to establish a new village at the Y of the Black River branches. Mills were constructed and the main street cleared. Beebe's crew also erected a home for Mr. Ely at Broad and East Bridge Streets, and a home for himself across the street, which became the Beebe Tavern. Both structures avoided demolition until well into the 20th century. In 1822, Mr. Ely spearheaded the movement to create Lorain County. He donated the land for the county courthouse, thus influencing the choice of Elyria as the county seat. Mr. Ely's little village would develop into a city with a varied industrial base as well as the center of government for Lorain County. Simon Durand came to America as an interpreter for Revolutionary War hero French General Lafayette. Durand remained in the new nation and in the winter of 1817 moved from New York State to the 160 acres he had purchased south of Brownhelm. 10 years later, the population of the area was enough to support the formation of a new township. With the southern portion ceded to Brighton and the northern portion annexed from Brownhelm, the township of Henrietta was created in 1827. Although New England families represented the majority of settlers to the area in 1818, one of the pioneers was William Welling of Montgomery County, New York. History is not clear if the community was named in honor of Welling or for the famous English Duke of Wellington, hero of Europe's recent Napoleonic Wars. With the coming of the railroad, Wellington grew into an agricultural marketplace, and in fact was the nation's leader in cheese production from 1870 to 1900. The county fair, now located in Wellington, helps to continue the depiction of small-town America shown in native son Archibald Willard's famous painting, The Spirit of '76. In 1818, Joseph Sage and the family of his son-in-law, John Laborie, journeyed through a severe winter from Connecticut to their new homestead in Huntington Township. More pioneering families came to the area, and by 1822, the population was such that the Medina County Commissioners incorporated the township, using the Huntington, Connecticut hometown of many of the settlers as its new name. Lumber, grain, and cheese dominated the local economy. In 1824, when Lorain County came into full operation, Huntington was transferred from Medina County. The citizens of Old Russia Township, that had been first settled in 1818, requested detachment from Black River Township in 1825. The town and college of Oberlin were founded in 1833 and would grow to dominate the area. The Oberlin concept combined a Christian community and a Christian coeducational institute. Through the influence of founders John Shippard and Philo Stewart, New York businessman Arthur Tappan, and noted evangelist Charles Finney, the college would become not only co-ed, but also multiracial and the nation's leader in the abolitionist movement. The independent spirit that created the first Russia Township was evident once again in 1992, as New Russia Township detached itself from Oberlin. In 1820, the Peter Penfield family began the permanent settlement of the area he had first selected in the fall of 1818. Penfield Township's organizational election was held in April of 1825. The first religious service was held in 1826, and the first school was in session in the summer of 1829. The township's first post office put the emphasis on post and not the office. As the Penfields lived well off the established mail route, a hollow tree near the river was used by the local residents for sending and receiving the mail. The township, with its fertile soil, grew into a part of Lorain County's rich agricultural heritage. In the fall of 1820, Abner Loveland Jr. became the first permanent settler of Brighton. Within a year, the families of Joseph Kingsbury and Abner Loveland Sr. had arrived, and the new community began to grow. With elections held in the spring of 1823, Brighton Township was being organized at the same time the area was being transferred from Medina to Lorain County. Like much of the new county, Brighton was essentially agricultural. Although Pittsfield's first settlers arrived in 1813, the area was considered too dangerous because of the British and Indian activity connected to the War of 1812. By 1820, the land was surveyed, and Milton Whitney became the owner of a large parcel. Whitney arranged for the Waite brothers of Russia Township to become the first permanent settlers in the spring of 1821. By 1831, there were enough residents to request that the county incorporate a township independent of Wellington. Pittsfield was chosen as the township's name to honor the Massachusetts hometown of many of the area's pioneers. LaGrange Township's first settler was Nathan Clark, who in the fall of 1825 established his new homestead on the east branch of the Black River. By the summer of 1826, 14 more settlers had arrived. The name LaGrange, which is French for the farm, was chosen to honor French General Lafayette, as it was also the name of his country estate. In 1827, the area was separated from Carlisle Township and reorganized with elections in April into the new township of LaGrange. By 1875, the center had grown into a village, also incorporated as LaGrange. The pioneer settler of the Camden area was Leonard Clark. Over the next 4 years, other families moved into the area, including Roswell Babcocks, who built the first frame house in 1833. Early on, the area was divided between Henrietta and Brighton townships. In 1835, the new township of Camden was created by the county commissioners, and the first elections held in April of 1836. When the first post office was established in 1835, the community was called Panelise. The name was changed to Camden, then later to North Camden. In 1852, the Lake Shore and Michigan Southern Railroad called its station Binghamton, but that was soon changed as the town adopted the name Kipton. Kipton's more important connection to the railroad was a tragic collision in 1891. The wreck was instrumental in the creation of standardized or railroad time. Rochester was the last township within the present-day boundaries of Lorain County to be settled. Stephen Babcock brought his family from Massachusetts in the spring of 1832 to settle on land he had prepared the previous year. The area grew quickly, and by 1835, the commissioners formed a new township with the first elections held in April of 1836. The township's farming and related businesses grew with the population. By 1880, close to 700 citizens lived in the area. The population shifted from Rochester Center to Rochester Station when the Big Four Railroad came through the township. The small-town boom would turn to bust when the railroad eliminated Rochester as a scheduled stop. The depot would be used as a schoolhouse, as the home of the Rochester Rod and Gun Club, and today as the home of the Rochester Historical Society.
Carpooling, a great way to save on fuel, tolls, and parking. Serving 13 counties, secure and safe Ohio rideshare makes it easy to connect with carpool partners safely. You control information shared. Discuss your destinations and needs through our safe site. Carpooling reduces pollution and traffic congestion, while it lowers stress and gives riders time to read, work, sleep, socialize. 1-800-825-RIDE or register online at ohiorideshare.com. Point, click, ride.
How about a little trash talk about Lorain County Solid Waste Collection Center in Elyria? The Collection Center makes it easy for Lorain County residents with ID to get rid of stuff you don't want going into a landfill. Stuff like hazardous waste, acids, household bleach, oven cleaners, antifreeze, paint, herbicides. Take it to the Collection Center. It's a drive-through, so it's easy to get rid of scrap tires, even if they're on the rims. The Collection Center also takes e-scrap like computers and monitors, circuit boards, microwave ovens, smoke detectors, even household TVs up to 27 inches. No console models, fluorescent lights and ballasts, reference materials and books, fire extinguishers, all kinds of stuff. Drive through, drop off. Just don't bring curbside recyclables, explosives, medical waste, radioactive materials. For what's accepted and not accepted, visit loraincounty.us/solid waste. The Collection Center near Big Lots at 540 South Abbey Road in Elyria is a service of the Lorain County Solid Waste District, the Department of the Lorain County Commissioners.
Small towns, urban fringe and suburban developments, rural communities across the country, a small mining village in the Northwest, coastal residential areas. Across America, communities have learned that sewers and central wastewater treatment plants are not the only way to have a comfortable standard of living. A well-organized community on-site wastewater management system, or OMS, can ensure public health, enhance water quality, protect property values, sustain the environment, and accommodate growth for the long term. Examples abound nationwide. Some communities have implemented an on-site wastewater management system from the beginning. Others have developed an OMS to address specific concerns or to correct failing conditions. All are successfully using wastewater treatment systems located in or near their own yards. But are on-site systems a modern way to treat wastewater? Are they really that dependable? Historically, seepage pits and septic systems were constructed without much siting or design guidance and received little maintenance. Failures were common. During the post-war housing boom in the late 1940s and early 1950s, millions of septic systems were installed. Despite improved septic tank designs, there were still widespread failures.
Of course, the reasons that they failed early on was that we never recognized differences in soil and soil acceptance rates. Well, as a result of these continuing failures, it was reasoned that these systems are unreliable.
Treatment begins in the septic tank. Solids and floating matter separate from the wastewater. The wastewater is then dispersed to the soil where most treatment occurs. New knowledge about soil has led to success with septic systems.
The idea is that the soil contains numerous bacteria, and that the bacteria then aid in purifying the liquid as it passes by.
With the air found in loose soil to breathe, and with the food and the wastewater to eat, the organisms multiply and go to work. The water clears in as little as 2 feet of good soil. But good soil is not found everywhere. Only about 1/3 of the United States has soil suitable for conventional systems. However, there are methods that make up for site limitations. An artificial drain field or mound can be built, augmenting thin soils. Or the biological action of soil can be put in a box of sand or other media. These media filters are then used to pre-treat the wastewater before it is dispersed to the drain field. Another method of pre-treatment is to blow air directly into a wastewater container where suspended organisms are present. The organisms breathe, eat, and multiply. When no more food is available, they die and settle, leaving clarified wastewater. These aerobic treatment units, or ATUs, pre-treat the wastewater before it is dispersed. There are many variations in on-site system design, but all utilize the same natural biological processes. David Van Huysen, Texas designer and consultant, has been working with innovative on-site systems for many years.
The whole community doesn't have to be at one point or the other. The whole community doesn't have to be all centralized or all on-site. It doesn't have to all be this level of cluster or this level of cluster. You can have different areas of the community that could be managed in different ways. The idea is that the whole thing is one management system.
If a good drain field cannot be found on everyone's lot, a cluster system may be a practical solution. Each house may have its own septic tank, but they are all connected to a single drain field. Cluster systems can be included with a variety of other on-site treatment methods within one effective community management system. The California oceanfront settlement of Stinson Beach has operated a successful on-site management system for over 25 years. The 700 residences and businesses occupy very small lots served by on-site systems. In the 1970s, many septic systems were failing. To avoid the high cost and the population increase that sewers and a central plant might bring, committed residents developed an on-site wastewater plan using innovative alternative systems managed by the Stinson Beach County Water District.
The engineering firm that I worked for before dealt with centralized systems. I thought that at one time that was the only way to go, and I thought that septic systems were basically an old method until I came here at Stinson Beach. Looking at the way these systems operate and the monitoring system that we have here, I feel that the cost effectiveness of these systems more than outweighs the cost of a centralized system.
The conventional and advanced on-site systems here are continually monitored and maintained to assure protection of the sensitive environment.
I think the management program here will work in just about every location. If it's done properly and it's managed properly, you should not have a problem. These systems could probably last 40 to 50 years without a problem.
Near the American River, in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains, the planned community of Auburn Lake Trails has been successfully using conventional on-site systems, mounds, and sand filters for 20 years, monitored and managed by the Public Utility District.
The reason our zone works so well is because we've done such extensive work in defining the problems in the soil. And once those limitations have been identified, then we can engineer something that can address the limitations in the soil. But it does require some advanced technology.
We test the effluent straight out of the sand filters themselves, and our district engineer has been very impressed how clean the water is inside these sand filters before they get dosed to the leach lines. It's important that these sand filters do their job. Otherwise, it could send the effluent right down to our creeks and contaminate our creeks and streams. And we've never had a positive sample in our streams.
When you have a problem with a septic tank, you have maybe a 250 gallon a day problem. When you have a problem with the sewer system, you've got 1 million gallons a day. And for rural America, dealing with a 250 gallon a day problem makes a lot more sense than trying to deal with 1 million. I'm very glad I don't have to deal with 1 million gallons of untreated sewage when there's a problem.
In Edison, Washington, shellfish beds were being polluted by the local tidal slough, which contained effluent from failing septic systems and directly discharged waste. Doris Robbins and her neighbors were determined to find a solution that would not be too economically disruptive.
We had to keep the expense down because this is a fairly low-income community with 4 generations of people living here. We wanted to keep them here.
To serve the 75 homes and businesses, community volunteers helped build a gravel filter. The local school district, also a major stakeholder, provided the high ground for the drain field and shares in the management of the system.
We were able to cut the cost per site from $20,000 to $7,000. And then for a certain income level, their costs were cut even further to $3,000. The first summer, people commented on how the slough didn't stink anymore.
In the Midwestern farm village of Klossner, Minnesota, Old septic systems were failing. Soil limitations were overcome by installing new mounds and clusters. The nearby hamlet of St. George had similar problems.
The community was in a violation threat from the county and from the MPCA, and they realized that they had to do something. And at that point in time, they came to the township to try and get some help with the county and try to find answers.
The township planned and enabled a community on-site management system, installing a cluster to serve the 23 homes in the management entity.
As to management, people realize when they invest that kind of money nowadays into a septic system, just like you do a car, just like you do a house, you need to protect it, you need to take care of it. They may not know how to take care of it, and that's why we implement management tools that either help them understand so they can do it themselves, or if they don't choose to, someone will do it for them, and therefore they are protected.
In the late 1970s, people in Otter Tail County, Minnesota, noticed a decline in the water quality in their lakes. They decided to replace failing septic systems and start an on-site management system. Roland Mann administers the OMS that ensures the proper functioning of over 1,500 on-site systems in the district.
Your sludge accumulates, your scum accumulates in your tanks, and they definitely need to be checked. And everybody's system is different. One house can have to be pumped every 2 years, another one might not have to be pumped for every 6 or 7 years. That's what we're finding. And it just all goes back to usage, and the only way to find out is to monitor it, check the tank, see what's in there, see what's coming out of the tank. If you don't, obviously the longevity of the system is going to be curtailed immensely. Water clarity in the lakes had definitely improved. You could go out and you could see the bottom a lot better than you ever could.
In North Carolina, the area around Elizabeth City has extremely high water tables. Residents there use septic systems managed by the Albemarle Regional Health Services on-site management entity. The OMS has been so successful that several adjacent counties have joined it.
Years ago, before we started the ME program, we had like a 30% failure rate. Since we started the ME program, we had a 1% failure rate. That to me says a whole lot for the management entity program.
Many who work in Washington, D.C. live in nearby Fairfax County. The county health department's on-site management system, perhaps the first in the country, has overseen septic systems for more than half a century. Among the various management procedures, periodic pump-outs by licensed contractors are required. Management reviews ensure that the OMS can adapt to meet changing needs. Today it serves about 25,000 on-site systems.
Based on the Clean Water Act of 1972, everyone thought that we were going to have sewers. And so a mindset developed that septic tanks are only temporary. We're going to have sewers. Well, now, today, we recognize clearly that we're not going to have sewers. But that mindset hasn't changed. We've been doing work here at UC Davis on intermittent sand filters, textile filters, and the quality that you get is superior to what you produce at a wastewater treatment plant. And so, from a treatment standpoint, on-site systems don't have to take a back seat to more conventional facilities.
And because we can focus all of our attention on the treatment process, and we don't have to worry about the collection part of the process, it's really a much more cost-effective option than when you look at a central system, especially for suburban or rural areas.
Communities of people in rural areas really choose to live there, are proud of their community, and justifiably so, and want to take care of problems themselves. And this is a very, very appropriate way for a community to have a high standard of living with protecting the environment, protect the public health, but still maintain that rural character.
Most of our staff has realized that you can't economically sewer all rural areas. In the areas that we have left that need additional, either for public health reasons or water quality reasons, wastewater treatment, this could be a viable option with the management component so that you achieve the desired treatment results and ensure the long-term viability of the systems.
In our office, the on-site and decentralized program is one of our key initiatives. That's what we're promoting, is to look at the options, consider decentralized systems where you can get the community involved very early in the process, give them the information that they need to demonstrate that these are viable options.
Located in Morgantown, West Virginia, on the campus of West Virginia University, the National Environmental Services Center specializes in providing information and professional expertise in water quality and wastewater issues to interested communities throughout the country.
One of our primary areas of focus at the center is to actually move out and to visit with and to assist communities at the local level. Community leaders, local decision makers, and residents of communities across America have a good, clear understanding much of the time about many of the issues that concern them. But they don't necessarily know where to draw on the resources, the expertise, or to receive the technical assistance. And so we here at our center send out into the field experts, draw on that resource, provide products and services and other related and ancillary support to enable communities to define and design their own destinies.
A community really only has two choices. If change is inevitable and progress is optional, you can choose to do nothing. If you choose to do nothing, then the destiny of the community is not really in the community's hands. It's in the hands of those people who are creating the change. We have numerous communities around the United States that have been successfully using management entities of some form or another, in some cases for decades. And they have been able to do it successfully. So our job really here is to say, look at what others have done. We'll help you with understanding how others have accomplished this. It's not decision making at levels where you have to be fearful about what the outcome is. It's sorting through the options to design something that's good for your community.